Don't you hate it when you record something and it's not there? So I was merrily recording this important thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and the video cut out because it's been so long since I've emptied the memory that it ran out of room. I could see there's a temp video somewhere, but it's gone. I can't see it. So I'm going to have to record this again, which is really annoying. But if I don't do it today, I'll probably put it off for another week. I think that looks slightly better. Right, so today I want to have a chat about something that preoccupies my mind quite a lot, and I think that's in part purely because we're so obsessed about it, and that is retirement. Now, I don't know what retirement's going to look like for me. I cannot imagine getting to an age and suddenly saying, right, that's it, no more work. And then do what? Working's what I do. I enjoy working. And work for me isn't like the 9 to 5, going to an office with a lot of toxic people. It used to be, it's not anymore. So I imagine being able to work like I do now until I drop dead. But that of course presumes that I have my physical health, my mental health, and whatever else. So for most of my working life, I have not had a work pension. In fact, I've never had a work pension. But most of the jobs that I've been in over the years have not had that as an option, because I was often employed as a temp through a temping agency. So I wasn't with the companies that I was working for. And that means that for a lot of my working life, I was also not entitled to things like holiday pay or sick pay, because that's what it used to be like. So I don't have a work pension. I don't have a private pension because I've never been able to afford to pay into one. What I have coming to me at some point, hopefully, unless they get rid of it, is the state pension. So I've been looking at different ways that I can save for retirement that don't involve a pension. I don't trust pensions. I don't like them. I don't like the idea of them. I don't like that you don't know what you're getting, that companies can collapse, stocks and shares can collapse, you can lose everything. So I've always tried to save, but obviously all my savings I think of as emergency savings. I don't have anything else to back it up. It's just me. I don't have a partner who's working. I don't have any other way of backing up things that I need to pay for. Work is can be very intermittent. It can be unpredictable. You get paid when you get paid. There is no, payday, that sort of thing. So what I've tended to always do is squirrel away as much money as I can, and then when I've had to, I've dipped into it to make sure that my bills are always paid, so I have no debt. Now, I stopped working full-time in 2009. I went to university to retrain. I came out, I started running my business. I haven't always just run my business. My business has always been, it's an official thing, it's a business. It's not just like a weird side hustle. It's properly registered with self-assessment and all that sort of thing. It has a website, it's an entity. But I've always done other things alongside it because it doesn't make enough money for me to live on. So I've always had part-time jobs, a little bit of PAYE, I've sold other things, I've used my savings to generate income from interest. And as time has gone on, and as I'm getting closer and closer to the retirement age, so to speak, I'm trying to think about how I can plan for something that's a retirement, just so that I know I'm covered. Because even if I do keep working, I still need money to live. And I imagine my life being a lot like it is now. I can't imagine ever having money to go on fancy holidays, but I don't want to be sitting here at 75 getting close to December and still not able to put the heating on, because that's going to kill me. And a lot of people on state pension are living like I am now, and probably on less. So what I do know is I've looked at my state pension statement, and I have always paid up my national insurance voluntarily through my business. And when I was working before, obviously I was paying tax working through agencies and things, so that was being, national insurance was being paid as well. So when I look at my state pension statement, provided I keep paying into my national insurance up to my retirement age, I will get the full state pension, which is currently £886. So let's imagine that at retirement age, whatever that looks like, I don't know what it looks like, I don't know what age that's going to be. Is it going to be 60? Is it going to be 63? Is it going to be 65? Are they just going to scrap it entirely? I have no idea. Whatever point at which I start getting the state pension, based on today's figures, it's £886. Now I've worked out what my life currently costs, and when I divide up what I spend over the course of a year to live, I need £1,017 a month. That pays all my bills, keeps food on the table, etc, etc. So if I look at that as a figure, and then look at the pension, I am £131 short a month in state pension to live like I do now, which is not entirely on the edge. There are people living a lot worse off than me, but it's not comfortable for a pensioner. So let's take, say, an arbitrary figure. Let's say I've got £30,000 in savings, and I've put them away in, you know, whatever savings accounts I can get. Let's also say that I retired at 60, and let's say that I lived until I was 80. So that's 20 years that I need to fund theoretically with no extra work. That means that my £30,000 of savings used as a top-up for the state pension will last me 19 years. For 20 years I need £31,440 to top up my state pension for 20 years to enable me to live like this as an OAP, or as a retired person, as a person over 60. That is like the worst case scenario. Let's say, I mean, I don't know what inflation is going to look like, I don't know what price is going to look like, things will change, things will go up, things will go down, who knows what will happen. Let's say that I want to have in retirement, whatever that is, £1,500 a month. That will put me £500 a month more comfortably off than I am now, which means that at least I will be able to put the heating on in November rather than after Christmas. I don't know what that's going to look like, it is what it is. And let's say that, again, retiring at 60, living till 80, state pension currently at £886. That means I will have a shortfall every month on that state pension of £614. That means that the £30,000 theoretically that I have saved will only last me 4.7 years, which means I have 15 years of living worse off than I am now. If I want to save enough savings to cover that shortfall of, say, £886 to hit £1,500, I have to save £147,000. That's a lot of savings. And that's theoretically if I retired at 60, which means that I only have 10 years to save that, just over 10 years. That's not doable. So I need to look at ways to make sure that I'm saving as much as possible, which obviously means I need to earn more money now. I need to put as much of my savings as possible into interest earning accounts and let it sit as if it was a pension, but also as something that if something terrible happened, I would have access to the money. I need to have access to a certain amount of emergency savings. You should always have some of your emergency savings in easy access. Let's say my landlord decides to sell up and I have to move. I've got to find deposit. I probably have to fund that by paying my rent every 6 months or every year, as it currently is, because that's what the system's like now. I'd have to pay for moving fees. You know, I'd have to hire somebody to move all my furniture and stuff. What if something happens to my car? My car's written off. I need a new car. I'm not going to get credit on a car. I need to find that money, or at least a good chunk of that money, straight away so I can get a new car, so that I can keep moving around. So I need to look at how I can maximise my savings without leaving myself short, for instance, every 6 months when the rent comes around. And so I pre-plan all my spreadsheets so that I know what's coming up and I know that everything is covered where it needs to be covered. Now I do have some savings and I have them in different pots. So I have several. I have an easy access which has a small chunk of money which is easily accessible. That covers shortfalls every month because I don't earn enough. It covers emergencies, like something happens to the car, 2 flat tyres, something goes wrong and I need to spend £1,000 on whatever. I've got enough in there to cover emergency basics. The rest of it is in several pots of fixed savings accounts, fixed rate accounts. So they're locked away, so I can't get at the money. But they come out at different times of the year. So I've got one coming out at the end of this year. I've got one I think that's due out at some point in early May, and I think another one is due out, might be August, something like that. So there are different pots of money coming up, becoming re-available again, that I can use to pre-plan. So for instance, at the end of April I have to pay my 6 months rent. The money that I have in the bank at the moment won't cover that, the money that's instantly accessible to me. But because I have a fixed bond coming out at the end of this year, I can take a small amount of it, put it aside into the easy access savings, so it's still earning interest, but it's also available when I need to pay that rent. The rest of it will then go back into a new fixed bond because I know I don't need that immediately. Now, savings rates, of course, change all the time. But at the moment, there's a lot of very comparable accounts. So the best paying fixed rate savings account at the moment is 5.91%. The best easy access is 5.22. There's very little difference in it. You're only talking pence per month. The other option is cash ISAs. I don't want to do stocks and shares ISAs. I am very risk averse, but you can put up to £20,000 untaxable into an ISA every year, and that may be a good option for retirement because it will be untaxable. Therefore, unlike everything else which will be taxable, provided I hit the tax limits, the ISAs, they can't touch them. So I could potentially put £20,000 a year, up to £20,000 a year, into a tax-free ISA, but it depends on the rates. Rates aren't always that great. At the moment they're really good, they're really comparable. So the best cash ISA at the moment is 5.71, which almost matches the best fixed rate, which is unusual, and that's because the interest rates are all over the place. So that feels to me like the only doable option I have at the moment, which is to make enough in savings to top up whatever state pension will exist when I retire. And that means I'm going to have to work hard at reinvesting the savings I already have, and looking to increase that by increasing my income, obviously. There are all sorts of options that I could have in retirement, whatever that will look like. Again, we have the ISAs, we have looking at emergency savings as a pension top-up, looking at retiring later. I can't imagine myself retiring, or keep working, which I think is more likely what I would do. doing the sort of thing that I'm doing now. So it's little side hustles that mean that I'm not having to work hard as a person in my 60s or my 70s, but means that income is coming in. It could be buying and selling online, passive income from savings, because all the savings that I'm not using when I'm in retirement are still accruing interest if I keep them in savings. So there's all these different ways of doing it. Now, obviously, pensions, provided they do their job properly, will accrue much more money when you leave them in. The problem for me with pensions is that if I decide to put all my spare money into a pension, which will accrue a lot more money before I retire, I also can't get at that money at all. If I got to a point where I had a stash of money that I could put into a pension and lock away and get a better return, I would do that. But I don't feel secure enough to do that at the moment. I don't have enough savings where I could say, right, I can take out all of this chunk, put it away and lose it. Not lose it, but not have to think about it for 10 or 15 years. I don't feel that secure at the moment. I need to look at the other options, but those are the sorts of things that are available to me. So I'm interested to know, if you are planning your retirement but you don't have a pension aside from the state pension, how are you navigating that? Maybe you are already in retirement and you have navigated that with just the state pension, or maybe you have entirely funded your retirement on savings. Don't forget, I don't have property to sell. I didn't buy stocks and shares. I didn't buy premium bonds or any of that. It is me, it's some money in the bank, and there's a state pension on the horizon somewhere if they don't scrap it all before I retire anyway. So that's my thoughts for today. What else can I say? That's all I have to add. I will have hopefully put the odd facts and figures up at the side there to make things easier to read, but I hope that is interesting. Do comment. I'm really interested to know how people living frugal lifestyles or people on stretched incomes are either managing retirement at the moment or are planning to manage retirement, because I'm sure there's a load of clever hacks that I'm not even thinking of at the moment. So yeah, do drop your comments. I'd be really interested to know how you are doing this, because I'm looking for ideas for what I can do over the next, well, however many years really, because if I'm not planning to retire, it's all income. How are you going to fund your retirement? Please tell me about it. I'm really interested to know.